Yes, I was the only one. I'm not quite sure. I'm not honestly sure why. What happened was NBC wanted a reading done a couple years later because they wanted to see how long it was going to run and what the material was like and if it would work well as a made-for-TV remake. And I got a call from, I forget exactly who, I think it was Tommy who had recommended. They said, bring Mark in because he knows it, because there wasn't a lot of time to put this together. So a bunch of us, Susan Egan and myself, and they had pulled together a couple of people that NBC actually like to do Ursula and to do the character of, oh God, what's his name? Hugo, thank you. And they just gathered as many people as they could to get together and, you know, sing this thing. You read it and sing it through. And it was Robert Halmy Sr. who does Hallmark, you know, who does a lot of stuff for television now. And I read Birdie, and at first, when I walked in there, they told me they were looking at Harry Connick to do the role. That's who they wanted to do the role. And at the end of it, Robert Halmy Sr. came up to me and he said, you know, you really don't need a celebrity to do Birdie, do you? And I said to him, you know, in all sincerity, I don't think you should, because if you have somebody like Harry Connick doing Birdie, then they're going to say, hey, look, there's Harry Connick. They're not going to accept him as the icon Conrad Birdie, which is what I thought was important. I said, you've got to accept that character for who he is, and it's better that no one knows who he is, so that that's all they'll know, is that he's Conrad Birdie.
And you got the gig.
And I got the gig. They offered it to me 2 months later. I didn't have to audition for it or anything. Now, part of that also was Gene Sachs directed the film as well, and Ann Reinking choreographed it. Now, Annie I worked with, she was Rosie on the national tour, and Gene had directed the national tour, so I know for them it was an easy gig. Like, they knew I knew it, they liked the way I did it, and quite honestly, they were relying on me to help them remember choreography. In all sincerity, because we did like about a week of a workshop in New York, and they called me and said, listen, do you mind doing this? We need to try to remember as much as we can. We have blueprints of the places that we're planning on shooting some of these scenes. Would you mind coming in and, you know, giving us a hand? What did you do? Like, Mark, what did you do? What were you doing at this point, that point? Where were you doing the chicken? Because now you might be doing the chicken next to a bush. Honestly, so it was fun though. I mean, it was a good time because it was the three of us in there trying to remember the entire show for the week in New York. Because there wasn't a lot of time to put all of this together. And they were working with a lot of people that were on tight schedules, like Vanessa Williams and Jason Alexander and George Wendt. All three of them were coming from different places. There was really no time for them to rehearse that much. So they wanted to have as much laid out as they could to fit everybody's, you know, we had 6 weeks total to shoot it, and everybody only had a certain amount of time in those 6 weeks because everybody else had projects floating around it. So it was really a matter of doing it and getting out of there.
Why did you, after you did Birdie, the tour, that's when we first worked together, you took the...
Forever Plaid.
Yeah, why did you want to take that gig? We did Forever Plaid out in Kansas City.
We did Forever Plaid out in Kansas City.
Long time ago.
Oh, God. Because quite honestly, like, you know, I had said to you before, it was a great, wonderful tour, and it was really horrible, too. Socially, it was horrible. It was just very cliquey. It has nothing to do with any of the individuals. They were all wonderful people that were in that show. It was just really hard because it was young, and it was a little jaded, and it was very cliquey, and there were a lot of drugs on the road, and I don't do that stuff, and it was... Well, but it was difficult because socially, you know, for anyone that's ever done a tour, it's like you're in make-believe land for 14 months. And I dated somebody in the company, and it was not working out well, and so I had to break up. We had to break up, and yet still work together for another 8 or 9 months.
And Ryan came over.
And you know her, she's so physical. You know, I'm like, get off of her. No.
That's awkward.
But it was tough. I mean, look, for anyone that's done a tour, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not easy. And I was young, and it was my first big gig. So for this being my first big gig, it was kind of a disappointment. But then, that's life. Reality is never as we hope our, you know, dreams will be. And I just removed myself so much from everybody that when Forever Plaid came up, you know, Forever Plaid, it's a show about 4 guys that really care about each other and support each other. And I just was like, I want to do that. I want to be in that environment right now. And it was great. 4 guys, we got along so well. There wasn't anything, everybody was equal. So it wasn't like, you know, somebody, well, this is my moment, this is my time. It was really about 4 guys working together with a lot of heart. It was great.
Just happen to have another cute little you know. It's my job to hate those people. Anyway, this is Night of 1,000 Plaids that we did. Isn't this cute? This was this benefit we did for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, and the Kansas is all the different plaids in the country, and the Kansas City plaids flew in. So here's just a little clip of the way Mark looked in that show, with the weird comic dialogue before the song.
I liked it.
Marc wrote Kudisch, Ellen Souza, and Richard Owens.
Wait, this is chatting for a second. I'm gonna get to Kudisch's line.
No, I don't remember the intro. I mean, is it hip, ha, who, he, or is it who, he, ha?
No.
Hip.
No. Hip, hop, hop, ho. Ha.
I didn't know eyes could flirt. Hop, hop, hop. I didn't know girls could be like Tina Marie. I didn't know I could sail like a penny boat in a gale. Woo, woo, what she's doing will be the ruin of me. Oh, 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 Tina, 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 Tina.
We don't have 10 minutes. Okay.
Wait.
What?
Do you remember? That was my coming out party. Do you remember?
I know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
I was drunk.
What are you talking about? Well, we were working together. When we were,
It's my show.
When we were working together, Seth was always like, "So when are you coming out? When are you finally coming out? Because you're gay. So when are you coming out?"
So go on.
So don't you remember? Remember, what was it, September something when we came in for Night of 1,000? You're like, "That's going to be your coming out party."
No, I don't.
That's going to be your coming out party.
What's the holdup? I just asked.
I came out. You missed it.
I'll go next to Nyack. All right, I have to wait John. Second to Beauty and the Beast. You did you did a Muscle Man in that show.
Yes.
Now, what was that like? That's sort of the easier role because you don't have to wear a fucking fork in your bag.
No, you know something? There is no easy job. The easiest job in that show is being Bill. That's the easiest job. Because if you're not a utensil, if you're not a pot, if you're not a candle, or if you're not like, really Jewish and, a hairy beast, then you're, well, I'm sorry. Jews are hairy. We're hairy people. Okay. No, so Gaston, it was a great costume. It was a great costume, but the problem with that role was everything was choreographed to music, and everything had choreography, and everything was to music. So we had like 4 different conductors that were happening every week. We had, 3 associates and 1 major conductors, and everyone had their own tempo and rhythm. So every night you'd walk out there, and there'd be a different rhythm or a different tempo, and you're like, excuse me, there's only so long that I can jump in the air and stay there before I have to come back down. So can we... Well, I'm trying to make it pompous. Okay, that's an attitude. It is not a rhythm. That's my job. I would be the pompous one. I'm only trying to help. Don't.
The 2 conductors. Now, was there what was the Mrs. Potts miss?
Oh yeah, Mrs. Potts. Okay, so it was Cass Morgan at the time. There were 5 of us that came in and replaced all the principals when they opened in Los Angeles. And Cass Morgan was Mrs. Potts. So they're all on stage. He's standing in the wings watching this. It's Cass Morgan, Sarah Uriarty, Jeff McCarthy's the Beast, Heath Lambert's the original cocker of Miss Cotswood. And they all come running on and down the stairs because it's the first time they're meeting Belle. Okay. Those costumes, are hard enough because, poor Mrs. Potts, literally the entire show, is doing this, she's doing this, and she's got to keep her arm there. And there's nothing supporting her. She's doing it on her own, which is why everybody's in therapy after doing that show. I'm serious. Doing this all 8 shows a week, it looks simple, but it really just destroyed all of the women that did it. So she